worldwide war against crime, there are men and women trained to sink their own identity in the international underworld. They work alone, in danger and in shadow, unrecognized by friend and enemy alike. They are the operators of the almost legendary Ghost Squad.
Order. Order. Order.
Well?
To survive the crash of the helicopter, to survive a 3-day march across the desert at his age, these were miracles enough. There will not be a third medical, Zazie.
And the other?
Casey? He's young and strong. But there is a limit to any man's endurance.
He will die, too.
I think not. I will move him to the hotel in Kavare. Keep him under morphia.
Mustn't give up. Casey, send films. Send the films. They'll know.
Dr. Morrow, please go back to bed. What's saying quickly?
Rafi.
Fine. Oh, he's here now. Right, Chief.
Nick, this is Mr. Jessel Craig from the Foreign Office. Mr. Craig.
How do you do, sir? How do you do?
The Chief arranged for him to call and brief you on the Middle Eastern assignment.
Fine, let's get on with it.
How much do you know already?
Very little. Assume I know nothing and start from the top.
The state of Ramazan, bordered by Iran, Iraq, Turkey, and Soviet Armenia.
Flashpoint?
Potentially, if we don't watch it carefully. So far, they've kept out of trouble because they're so poor. But the whole situation could change overnight if a source of mineral wealth were ever discovered.
Oil?
Thorium.
As in nuclear fission?
Mm-hmm. Some time ago, our embassy out there got hold of the idea that there might be thorium here, in the Kavare desert area. Or rather, monazite sand, which the boffins tell me is a source of thorium.
If word got around, you'd have a modern gold rush in your hands.
Worse, we'd have nations competing instead of individuals. In that part of the world, such a situation could lead to anything. Insurrection, revolution, full-scale war, even.
Presumably, you sent a geologist to check the story.
Mm-hmm. But secretly. Secrecy, my dear Craig, was and is of the essence until we've actually located it and obtained the exploitation right from the Ramazan government.
I'm with you.
The man we sent was old Philip Morrow, the archaeologist, you know. Ostensibly, he was out there looking for traces of Alexander the Great. He camped on an existing archaeological site near the town of Kavare and toured the mountain fringes of the desert by helicopter.
Kavare, based at Kavare. That means he was looking for thorium within a 200-mile circle.
Precisely. Now I'm afraid he's dead. Fever and heat exhaustion following a forced landing in the desert, I understand. But his assistant and pilot survived. A man called Tim Casey, who's worked with Morrow for 5 years. He has a broken leg and isn't fit for a long journey yet. But 3 days ago, he rang our embassy in Ramazan, very excited about their last trip, and announced that old Morrow had found it.
Was that all?
That's all he said before the line went dead. When our embassy rang back next day, Casey had left his hotel, and nobody in the town seemed able to locate him. Or so they said.
Doesn't sound very good.
It's tricky. can't make a fuss without drawing attention to the place. For the same reason we can't ask the Ramazan government to intervene.
Go to Kavare, find Casey. Is that the assignment?
Find Casey, find the location of the thorium deposits, and above all, prevent anyone else from finding it. As you see, Kavare is a remote area. The central government has very little control. The effective ruler is the local emir. We know very little about him. Treat him with respect, but don't expect any help.
I don't think I'm going to enjoy this trip. What's the cover?
Officially, you will be a representative of the British Museum, sent to close down the Kavare dig and bring back old Morrow's effects.
Too chancy. I don't know the first thing about archaeology.
I understand Miss Carter does.
Well, I'm no expert, but I can produce a smattering of the jargon.
Well, how will that help?
I'm going with you.
Well, that'll make a difference. It won't be such a bad trip after all.
Fragments of alabaster relief, queries, 7th century. Assyrian?
Probably. This is not so far from the site of Nivene.
Dr. Morrow didn't attempt any reconstruction.
Oh, no.
Have you personally checked the contents of all those crates?
I have, and Major Saeed has.
Who's Major Saeed?
The chief of the local police.
These are two of his men?
Yes.
Wonder why the police are interested in archaeology.
The Emir is interested in everything that happens in Kavare, and Major Saeed is his cousin.
I see. Did you accompany Dr. Morrow on any of his research flights?
No, I was his secretarial assistant. I stayed here, cataloguing and collating his notes.
Well, then you didn't come down with him from England, did you?
Oh, no, he had another girl, but she fell ill. I was in Ramazan when he arrived, and so I applied for the post.
Well, you've done a good job here, Miss Keller, getting all this stuff packed up. Doesn't seem much left for us to do.
In that case,
Yes?
nothing. I will tell you later.
Jean, why don't we all go back to the hotel? Be easier to talk there. Benny, give us another drink, will you? Jimmy. You don't approve of this stuff.
An unbeliever chooses to pay me for the privilege of daring himself. Who am I to deny him? Excuse me, please, Mr. Sherman. Oh, how do you do?
How do you do?
Come in. Come in, please.
Thank you.
Come in. Oh, Mr. Craig, Miss Carter, well, I'm broken-hearted. How can I tell you? But another guest, Mr. Fazar, has decided to stay on, so I've only one room vacant.
Was there another hotel?
In Kavare? You think we have tourists here? No one comes to Kavare.
What about Mr. Casey's room?
Mr. Casey? He left a week ago.
Did he pay his bill?
It was paid. I've put another bed in your room for Miss Carter. What else could I do?
I don't mind if Miss Keller doesn't.
Of course not, and please call me by my Christian name.
Your bags have been sent up. Will you follow me, please?
Get me Major Saeed's office.
This is the room. Here we are. Hope you'll be comfortable in here.
They put your bag in the wrong room, Nick.
I'll take it along in a minute.
I'm afraid it's not very comfortable here.
We'll manage, Sazi. Sazi? That's an interesting name.
It's common enough here. My mother came from Kavare.
But Keller isn't a local name.
My father came from Zurich.
You're Swiss?
The law says I'm Swiss. I have a Swiss passport. Must you unpack? You said yourself there's nothing further for you to do here. Why can't we leave at once?
We?
You'll take me with you, please.
Take you. Back to Europe, you mean?
No, I mean out of here. To the capital. To the next town, perhaps.
Sure. We'll give you a lift. When we go.
Oh, please. Ask them to take your bags down now and let us go immediately.
Why the hurry?
I do not like this town, the Emir, the police. It is no place for a girl to be alone.
We'll be glad to take you, after I've seen Tim Casey.
But why do you want to see him?
I forget water. You need water. Water.
Someone else interested in archaeology. Sazi, there were photographic records and notes of all Dr. Morrow's flights, except the last one. What happened to them?
The Emir sent his police to search the helicopter, but they found nothing.
Well, Dr. Morrow carried this rucksack in from the crash, or Casey did. Are you trying to tell me it was empty? No photographs, no notes? Nothing to show where he went or if he found anything?
Why? What did you expect him to find? Sumerian pottery? Athabascan coins?
Why not?
If he did, we shall never know.
Well, certainly Casey would know. Didn't he say anything?
Most of the time he was unconscious.
Where is he now? It's a small town. He can't have vanished.
I think he's dead.
Dead?
He was very badly injured. I think he was very ill.
Well, surely the doctor would know. What's his name?
Hussein Rasool.
Rasool, that's it. I'll go and have a talk with the doctor.
Sazi,
Yes.
if you're so anxious to leave, why don't you just pack up and go on your own?
200 miles of desert track and no transport.
Nice.
Not for me.
Then telephone the nearest town and have them send a vehicle.
Telephone from Kavare. You try it. You just try it.
All right. I will.
This is a copy of Professor Morrow's death certificate. Well, if you're not satisfied, you can apply for an exhumation.
I'm not trying to make trouble, Doctor.
The extraordinary thing about Professor Morrow was not that he died, but that he lived so long.
And Casey?
I moved him to the hotel in Kavare. He stayed there a couple of days. I have not seen him since.
You don't know where he went, and you've made no effort to find him.
Well, he is a European, an educated man, presumably capable of taking care of himself. I have more than enough to do looking after my own patients.
I see. In that case, I'll go and have a word with the Emir.
If you must.
I'm told he takes an interest in everything. Thank you, Doctor.
Hi. It's Miss Carter, isn't it? I'm Dwight Sherman.
How do you do?
Forgive me for butting in like this, but are you trying to get a long-distance call put through?
They tell me there's a fault on the trunk line.
Ah, that's what they always say. The only calls that go through are the emirs. Could I buy you a drink?
Thank you. I'd like a fruit juice.
Denny, a fruit juice, please, and a whiskey sour. Hot, isn't it? Ah, what a country. Still, it's a fascinating study for the Western mind.
Is that why you're here, Mr. Sherman? To study the country?
In a way. I'm over here on assignment. I'm a newspaper reporter. Perhaps you've read some of my stuff?
No, I don't think so.
I write the syndicated column back in the States. Thanks, Denny.
Thank you.
Miss Carter, can I offer you a friendly word of warning?
Warning.
That girl who's sharing your hotel room, she's being watched by the police.
Why?
I don't know. What's more, I don't ask. You can't box City Hall. That's the Emir. He's the City Hall, he's Pentagon, Washington, the White House, all rolled up into one. But if he's gunning for that girl, it's just as well to stay out of the target area, because he can make life very uncomfortable for you.
I am sorry, Mr. Craig. I wish I could help. For the representative of a great cultural institution, nothing is too much trouble.
Except to tell me where Casey went.
He is a free man in a free country. He could have gone anywhere.
Meaning he left town.
If he is not here, he must have left.
I can't fault your logic. Thank you, Emir. It was gracious of you to receive me.
I shall be happy to receive you at any time, Mr. Craig.
Too many foreigners. Too many complications. Said, bring Casey to me.
Come in.
Where's Sazi?
Just gone out.
Anything new from her?
She's not been talking much since you walked into her trap.
What trap?
Sumerian pottery and Athabascan coins. The pottery could be found in this part of the world, but Athabascans are Red Indians. You should know that. Anyway, you accepted it.
Damn.
I wanted to cover for you, but it was all over so quickly. And the interesting thing was that she took your acceptance without batting an eyelid. So where does she stand?
Where does the Amos stand? Where does the doctor stand?
Or the American journalist I met, his name's Sherman.
Oh? Maybe I can get the embassy to get a rundown on their backgrounds.
You can't reach them by phone. The trunk line's out of order. Permanently, according to Sherman. Except when the Emir wants to use it.
Where's the radio?
Under the bed.
The fools at the embassy didn't think we'd need it. Bring your code book. Come along to my room and we'll WTS.
What is it?
The lock's been forced. Could have done a simpler job on it than this. Is it?
Archie.
Sazi.
Yes.
No, there's no need for us both to go. She can't have taken any luggage. Check through her things. The Emir's police have probably done so already, but they might have missed something.
Is that Miss Keller?
Hey, Mr. Craig's Jeep, and driving like Suleiman the Mad Camel Master, and with only one hand.
I got a car if you want to go after her. Be glad to drive you.
Thanks. Where is it?
It's over there being serviced.
I hope. Fine, let's go.
Fill her up, Allie.
But, Mr. Sherman, I just took the engine down.
What? I told you to service it, not strip it.
Who told you to immobilize this car? The Emir?
Would the Emir speak to a man like me?
Well, he's police then.
Allie, we got a truck parked out there. Can we hire it?
I wish I could help you. But I am waiting for a new axle.
What about your bus?
A bearing's gone. A sand in the oil sump.
Isn't there any mobile transport in this town?
Yeah, the Emir has a car which he never uses. I don't think it even starts. Major Said has an armored track vehicle. Efficient in the desert, but very slow. No, our best bet's the doctor. He's got an ambulance.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks. And you get this car fixed in a hurry. Pacey, pacey. You understand?
I understand. And it will not take too long.
Forgive the intrusion, Doctor. Miss Keller has just left here in my Jeep.
What? Why tell me?
I want to borrow your ambulance.
No.
Well, you know what'll happen to her if the police catch her.
If they catch it.
Well, if I can't chase her myself, I'll have to report her.
Not from here. I will not be involved, you understand? Now, please go. I have many patients waiting whose health is of far more importance than the machinations of foreign powers.
Then you will please deliver it with the Emir's compliments to the woman Sazi?
I told you. The woman Sazi has left. Look, I can't take responsibility for this.
There is no need to. Who would dispose of the Emir's property in this town? On behalf of the Emir, I apologize again for my mistake.
Who's the boyfriend?
Cute, isn't he? His name's Golem. He looks after the Emir's women. He took me for Sassy at first. No one had told him she had a roommate. He brought her this.
The Emir's serious.
He wants to make her his wife. Or one of his wives, I should say. That could be why she's scared, Nick. It would scare me.
Well, if she were a local girl, he'd just take her. But a half-European with a Swiss passport has to be bought. This is a hell of a price to pay for a wife when you've got a house full already. Unless she knows what Morrow found and where. Marriage would be the simplest way for the Emir to acquire the information for himself.
Would have been if she hadn't got away.
Well, the tank in the Jeep is only half full. Come in.
Well, I stopped her at the city gate. Major Science says he wants to talk to you.
Mr. Sherman, were you really trying to chase that girl?
Well, I was going to have a try.
Why?
Well, us Boy Scouts got to stick together.
Sozzy, that wasn't very clever of you. You didn't have a hope of getting away.
Mr. Craig, I shall require a formal statement of evidence to support the charge.
What charge?
Stealing a motor vehicle, the property of the British Archaeological Expedition.
Now, I don't know what you're talking about, Major. Miss Keller was using that Jeep with my full consent and authority. Why don't you go and get cleaned up? Jane will take you.
Mr. Craig!
Yeah, don't let her talk to anyone.
Mr. Craig,
You were saying, Major.
you realize, of course, that you have laid yourself open to a criminal charge.
What charge would that be?
Conspiracy. In assisting Miss Keller to leave Kavare without police permit. Mr. Craig, until I have taken further instructions, your motor vehicle will be impounded.
You know something? I don't think he likes you. Have a drink.
Thanks, a whiskey.
A couple of whiskeys. I wonder how long the Emir thinks he can keep us locked up in this one-horse town.
You in a hurry to leave?
No, I've still got my article to finish. I just don't like to have my freedom of movement restricted.
That's a fine phrase, Mr. Sherman. I think I'll try it out on the Emir.
She's taken her up to her room and locked the door. She's not letting anyone in.
Here in Kavare, we live as we have lived for centuries, according to our ancient customs and laws. Nobody interferes with us. The central government leaves us alone. Why?
Because we pay our taxes and make no trouble.
Exactly. Said, you are a fool. I told you not to provoke the foreigners.
But he's helping the girl.
There are other ways to stop him. Do what you like with our people. They expect it. But when you are dealing with foreigners, do not step 1 inch outside the law or what follows. Diplomatic protests, ultimatums, bringing the central government into disrepute. How long will they leave us alone if we cause them that kind of trouble? How long before they send officials, judges, soldiers? And a real trained policeman, Cousin Said? Yes.
Emir, Mr. Craig is here.
And very angry, no doubt. Let him come in. Said.
Emir.
Mr. Craig, you're about to utter a formal protest. Please do not. I apologize before you even speak. Major Said had no right to confiscate your car for the reasons he gave.
You mean you don't mind if Miss Keller leaves here?
Since Golam's ridiculous mistake, you cannot fail to know that I wish to have her in my household. However, she is a foreign citizen. If she wishes to go, I cannot stop her once, as no doubt Major Sahid has told you, once the cordon sanitaire is removed.
I'm afraid I don't understand.
Didn't Major Said tell you? How very remiss. Explain, Said.
There are suspected cases of plague in the old quarter, and the town has been made a quarantine area. Anybody entering or leaving without permission will be guilty of an offense under the national health laws.
There's no answer to that, is there?
I am so sorry you have to alter your plans. Said, tell Hassan to bring my telephone. Please make use of it, and call whoever you wish, and explain your predicament.
You think the call will go through?
Why not? Hassan, book a call to whatever number Mr. Craig wishes.
Can Mr. Gordon take a person-to-person call for Mr. Craig in Kavare?
Hello, Lawton. Nick Craig in Kavare.
Nice to hear from you. Before you say anything, I must warn you, this is not a secure line. You don't have to tell me that. I only called...
Lawton? Hello? Are you there? Operator? Operator?
I am sorry, there seems to be a fault on the line. I will ring you back as soon as I've been able to make a reconnection.
The line will be out of order again until further notice.
Number, please? Yes, hold on. Major Said is right here.
Can't tell.
Most unfortunate. I will have the call transferred to your hotel as soon as it comes through.
Emir, would it be impertinent of me to say you're wasted here? You could have had a great career in international diplomacy.
I like Craig. He appreciates me. It is interesting, though. He did telephone the British Embassy, and they did seem to know him.
An agent for the British is no better than any other agent. I just had a message from the hotel. Dr. Rasool is going to see Craig there tonight.
More complications?
Certainly, if those two form an alliance. Remember, Rasool knows what happened to Casey.
Doctor, would you care to join me for a cup of coffee?
Thank you. You took a considerable risk defying the police to protect Zazie. Why did you do it?
Why were you so anxious for her to leave?
Why? There must be something in the atmosphere of Kavare which breeds mistrust. Who are you?
Zazie Keller has seen my credentials. Haven't you checked with her?
I have not seen her since you arrived. Is she in the hotel now?
Resting. I don't think she should be disturbed. Her arm is giving her trouble. What happened to it, by the way?
Professor Morrow struck her in a fit of delirium just before he died.
Oh? And you were so anxious for her to leave here that you'd let her drive 200 miles in rough desert with one hand?
Her situation is desperate.
Because the Emir wants to marry her?
So you've heard about that. Well, can you imagine what it would mean to a girl brought up in Europe? The Emir behaves like a medieval tyrant.
Does he? How many cases of plague have you diagnosed, Doctor?
Mr. Craig, you must try to understand. I practice in this town under license from the Emir. So if he tells me he suspects plague, how can I call him a liar?
Well, if he's a medieval tyrant, why does he have to impose a phony quarantine to stay within the law?
Because he is dealing with foreigners who could bring him trouble. If Zazie had been a local girl, she would have disappeared long ago.
If you feel this way, why don't you take her out of here yourself? You have a vehicle.
But no foreign passport. Nobody cares what happens to the Emir's own people. His police would not hesitate to shoot me down. But you could do it.
You want me to take the girl?
I am suspicious of Benny.
And yet you trust me.
Perhaps I should not. But I can see no alternative. As long as the quarantine lasts, the Emir is in control of the situation. I will leave my key in the garage door. Here is the ignition key. If they hear you, they will try to stop you. But in the last resort, they would not dare use force against a foreigner.
All right.
Tonight?
As soon as I finish my business.
Business.
Contacting Casey, if I can find him.
There is only one way to find Casey. Get out of Kavare. Have the government put pressure on the emir.
You think Casey's there?
I know it. I saw him carried out of here by 2 of the emir's men on a stretcher. They took him to the so-called palace. Well, if you do not believe me, ask Benny.
I already have.
He will tell you anything for a handful of silver.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
More coffee? Benny.
Is that all?
Isn't it enough? I heard him say, "You want me to take the girl?" And then the doctor gave him the key of his car.
Thanks, Billy.
Give me Major Said.
Sassy? Are you sure you don't mind Nick taking these?
Would it make any difference if I did?
Thanks.
Nick, are you sure this is the right way to play it?
I'm sick of playing the stooge. The emir's run diplomatic rings around me. The doctors soft-soaped me with humanitarian double-talk. Gene, we've got a job to do, to find Casey.
The emir's just waiting for an excuse, and if you're caught breaking into his palace...
I gotta take a chance in finding him.
Before they find you.
Relax, Gene. I've got a passport.
Give me Major Said. I know it's late, but this is urgent. Hello, Major. Craig has just gone out. I don't know where. I couldn't hear, but he was alone.
What are you doing here? How did you get past the sentry?
Official business. Returned with Miss Keller's compliments. Want to check it?
I must take instructions from the emir. Now you must go. You must go at once.
I've got to see Casey. Look, show me to her.
I know nothing about him.
All right? I'll find him myself.
I told you to go.
If you insist.
Drop it. Do what he says. Not through there, Mr. Craig. Those are private apartments.
Casey!
That's you, Craig. I've been expecting you.
I'm going to talk to him, Major. You want to try and stop me?
Talk to the emir first, please. That way, across the courtyard. No, wait. Bring ahead, Mr. Craig, where you can see the light.
Said, please put that gun away. It is not very hospitable. Come along in, Mr. Craig.
Tim Casey's the name. Have a drink. It's on the heart.
You distress me, Mr. Craig. Did you think you would be refused admission at the main gate? I told you you would be welcome at any time.
You also told me Casey had left town.
You thought that I'd implied it. I admit at the time I was still hoping that you might leave yourself. But let us not dispute about what is the past. You came looking for Mr. Casey. Now you have found him. Please make use of my house as long as it is convenient. Let there be no mistake, Mr. Craig. You are free to go whenever you wish. And so is Mr. Casey.
Now, there's a man who understands the meaning of hospitality. You're wasting your time, Mr. Craig, whoever you are. And don't tell me you're from the expedition from the British Museum. I've knocked around the archaeological world ever since they sent me down from Trinity College, Dublin, and never yet heard of a Nick Craig, nor of a Jean Carter. Oh, and if you're going to show me a piece of paper, don't bother to ruin your pretty coat. Every phony carries pieces of paper. That American has a wallet full.
Dwight Sherman?
Dwight Sherman? Oh, what a name. Isn't it just too good to be true? That isn't true, of course. Come on, have a drink. Help yourself. You're going to need it. All right, then. Here it is. Take a deep breath and call me a liar. There is no thorium.
You're a liar.
Sure, but we're asked to look for monazite sand on the sides, but we never found any.
But you called the British Embassy.
Is there anybody who hasn't heard about that call?
It's a pity you made that call before you decided to sell out to the Emir.
You have a nasty, suspicious mind, Mr. Craig. I suppose it's inevitable in your muck-raking profession.
Why not? Every time we rake the muck, it's an even bet we turn up another traitor.
Traitor to what? I'm a citizen of Era. I owe the British government nothing.
You took a security oath. Doesn't that mean anything to you? Well, if that doesn't mean anything to you, what about personal loyalty, friendship? You were with Fillmore over 5 years. He trusted you. Don't you owe him anything?
Oh, what do you know about Phil? Phil was a giant among men. A gentle giant. No one ever worked for him that didn't love him.
Well, you go right on loving him. Get off that couch. We're leaving.
You're 57 different kinds of fool, Craig.
Get up.
I'll be happy to, if you'll step over there and get my crutches. 57 different kinds of fool. If you want to know where we went on that last trip, Zazie Keller stole the air photos.
I'd have to be 58 different kinds of fool not to know that.
Not that they'd mean anything to her. But you find out where she hid them, and you won't need to bother with me anymore.
Oh, the Emir?
Oh, I love that man. He has a philosophy. Do you know what he'd do with that roll of film if he found it? Destroy it. Oh, you don't believe me. It isn't only greed that makes people tick, you know. There's fear, too. In his case, fear of progress. I mean, you can't stay feudal once they start exploiting your mineral wealth. Not that there is any. Oh, Craig. I'm going to give you one last chance to wipe the egg off your face. I'm going to tell you...
Don't you think you've talked enough?
Oh, all right. You go right on wasting your time. But don't bother me anymore. I'm convalescing and enjoying every minute of it.
Nick, come in. Did you find him?
Yeah, I found him. Get back, girls. We're leaving.
Not me.
Especially you. Don't argue, Sassy. You've no choice.
But you have no jeep.
The doctor has.
Hussein, but he never let you.
He suggested it. Get ready in 5 minutes, please.
Was he killer, too?
Yes.
That means he didn't find Casey. That's the fee for your services and covers the hotel bill.
Mr. Sherman, are these genuine American dollars?
What do you mean?
I mean, they were not perhaps printed in your own country, like your passport and press card?
They're genuine bills. I wouldn't get too bright, Benny. It might be dangerous. We don't pay you to think.
For genuine American dollars, I can be 100% discreet.
This ought to take care of the bill. Where's your bag?
There's nothing here I want.
Not even your developing kit? Okay, Sassy, then. Would you mind carrying this? Catch. Jean, take the bandage off her arm.
Couldn't you have found a better place to hide it after all this time? Does it mean anything?
A lot of rock, a lot of sand. The map section should be able to identify it.
What are they? Ground shots of the site?
Presumably. Dr. Morrow may have been a great man, but he wasn't a great photographer. We'll be able to tell more when we get them printed and blown up.
Seems to be a cave, or the entrance to a cave. If these marks are footprints, it must have a thick, sandy floor. What's it called? Monazite sand.
What do you think, Sazi?
An underdeveloped picture of a cave with a sandy floor. What should I think?
Are they footprints?
Come on. Let's go, girls. Take the rucksack. Get your trousers ready.
Keep holding those bags, both hands. Tough break, Craig. Don't swing that bag, it makes me nervous. Too bad you didn't find Casey.
I did. You told me there wasn't any thorium.
Sure, that's why she carried a roll of film underneath a bandage. That marks her down as an amateur going in. Where is it?
In my pocket.
Put the bag down, get it. Just for the record, who are you aiming to sell it to?
No one.
He's got a gun under his coat, get it.
You must have had some buyer in view.
Do you judge everyone by your own standards? Those films aren't mine or yours or his. They're Philip Morrow's.
You mean you were taking him to the British Embassy?
Why not? That's what he would have wanted.
His gun, get it.
Like Casey said, you couldn't work for Morrow without loving him.
Get his gun. Now drop it. Now kick it across. The film, the key, put it on the front seat.
But Sassy, if this is true, why didn't you tell us?
Why should I? How do I know who you are? All I know is you're not who you pretend to be. But
Cut out the autopsy. Miss Carter, get behind the wheel.
Look, I didn't believe Casey either till I saw Morrow's photographs. Take a look at them before you go out of here.
I will, later. Miss Carter, drive the car outside. Leave the engine running. Get back in here. Get up. Shut the door.
Sherman, stop!
kissing it.
Wait, get back, get back.
Say,
It was your idea to steal my ambulance. You started the fight. We'll find penicillin and bandages in my surgery after I've gone.
gone.
Stop the engines, Lizzie.
But the police.
Shoot it out with them. It's the only alternative left to us now. Get in the jeep. There isn't any need for all this. Get rid of that gun. Right, search them.
You can lift the quarantine now, Major. Sherman and I just had a shooting match. No government would object to your putting us in jail now.
Thank you, Mr. Craig. That's what I propose to do.
Before you saddle yourself with a jail full of foreigners, why not give Casey a chance to prove that he was telling the truth? Put him in the jeep. Take him out to the site where Morrow went. What have you got to lose?
Said, take them away.
My dear Craig, good to see you all in one piece. And you, Miss Carter, I hope you've recovered from your shocking experience.
The emir only held us in house arrest, you know. We weren't in prison. Except Sherman, of course. He's still awaiting trial.
We were given the full VIP treatment. Oh, you know Tim Casey, of course.
Hello there.
If it wasn't for him, we'd still be there.
Unfortunately, I had enough influence with the emir to persuade him to go into the desert and take a look at what Morrow found.
We seem to have sent you on a fool's errand, my dear fellow.
You sent me to find Thorey. There wasn't any. You sent me to find Casey. Here he is.
Are these the pictures of old Morrow's cave?
Yes, that's what it's all about.
Is it any wonder I was all steamed up when I made that call to the embassy? To my way of thinking, and Morrow's, this one cave is worth infinitely more than a whole desert full of monazite sand. Stone Age cave paintings in the Middle East. Sure, there are caves like this in France and Spain and the Sahara, but this cave is unique in that part of the world. And there are several more like it in the same area.
Remarkable. Does your friend, the emir, realize what this is going to mean?
Oh, I doubt it. The doctor does, though. He was dancing a jig when we left. Progress is going to hit Kavare now, whether they want it or not. They're going to have tourists.